All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Raw and Relentless. I've got Claudia Scott on. Claudia, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Of course. So, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am located in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So for those of you who don't know, Northwest Arkansas is the birthplace of Walmart. So we've had a really big boom in innovation and tech and startups in probably the last decade. I'm not native to Arkansas. I'm originally from Costa Rica, where I was born and raised until I was 19, and then I moved to Arkansas with a Walton Scholarship Program, and I've been here ever since. I work at Startup Junkie, which is a ESO, an entrepreneurial support organization that focuses on democratizing access to capital and resources to all entrepreneurs in the area.
So, I found that fascinating because as a fellow entrepreneur myself, I think that is probably one of the hardest things that a business person slash entrepreneur slash solopreneur is trying to get capital.
Yeah.
I've gotten an SBA loan before, and that is like, I think it'd be easier to give away my firstborn than trying to get a
No joke.
SBA
It
loan.
is very hard. Yes, we get that feedback a lot from clients.
Yeah. So, how exactly does your platform work in terms of access to capital? Because I know from what I understand is you guys do like interest-free loans.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about that just because every time we kind of share with our clients or startups, the loan program, they're like, what is the catch? Where are you lying to me? Which we're not. Uh, so we have a Kiva hub. So Kiva is actually an international nonprofit. They're all over the world. They're all over the United States. They've been around since 2005. And then I think in the 2010s, we started getting hubs all over the United States. Arkansas, with support of the Walton Family Foundation, Northwest Arkansas got its hub. I think the first loan, we opened our doors January 2020. So it is, clearly we have the backing of an international organization and nonprofit, but we kind of just lead the Northwest Arkansas initiative. Um, and they are zero interest, no fees, crowdfunded loans. So the best way I explain to our clients is think of a GoFundMe, but you do pay it back. So it helps you build business credit, but it also, the people that are funding your loan are just regular people like you and me that just believe in that cycle of economy and empowering local startups. So we try to make sure that they understand that although it's no interest, no fees, and it's not coming from our traditional banking institution, it's even more important to pay it back because it's your family, friends, and community that are helping you get that.
Mm.
Surprisingly, I will say, so I think we're getting close to our 170th loan and close to $2 million in funds to local startups. And we've maintained a repayment rate of over 82% since starting. So there's definitely, the mission is working because we do have great repayment rates. And we just keep, you know, trucking along to make sure we support local economy.
So, what's like, does one person have a cap as to what could be lent to them?
Yes, so they are microloans, so we start with only $15,000, that's what you can get for your first
Mm.
loan, but the more and more that we've seen is that people we try to be that first step in capital, so, like, if you for some reason can't get funding from a traditional bank or CDFI, we wanna be that first step in the hopes that eventually you can go and get, an SBA loan or a CDFI loan or whatever. But with interest rates just keep on climbing and climbing and how expensive everything is, we have noticed that people just keep coming back to us as a fund for capital, which is great. And we love that. One of the newest initiatives that Kiva US has started, so we definitely can work with that too, is that if you've had a first loan of $15,000, you've paid it back, you can get a second one for up to 25,000. Again, no interest, no fees, which can definitely make a difference. Like a loan of $5,000 can still be a little low, but 25 can really be a chunk of change and a difference for our local startups. And although we do have, so we mainly work with Kiva for our mic loans, we do webinars and information sessions where we share with our clients what other options there are. So actually, we have one this week where we're going to bring a traditional bank someone to talk about SBA. I will talk about Kiva. We'll have someone talk about CDFI. So although we definitely have this partnership with Kiva, we do make sure that we can teach or at least inform of the other options that there are for you guys.
And if the 25,000 is paid back, can you come back for an even larger loan?
Not a larger one, but you can come
Got it.
back for
Got it.
another 25,000. So so far, because the initiative of the 25,000, I actually think it started this year. We've already had like 5 or 6 people come back for a $25,000 loan, but we have yet for anyone to come back for a third $25,000 loan. So we'll see how kind of like the trends go. This year we have seen, we've had in the past smaller loans. So like a handful of people would ask for the 15,000, but then some others would just ask for 2 or 3 or 5. This year we've mainly done $15,000
Wow,
loans.
that's great. And what's your typical repayment terms?
So that depends. If you're doing from 1,000 to 5,000, it would be 12 months. 5 to 10, it'd be 24. 10 to 15, or 25 would be 36. Which there's no interest. So I always tell people it's really easy. You get how much you paid and then you divide it, and there's no more math than that. So it's just pretty easy to get your repayment rate calculated.
Do you know, because kind of right off the top of my head, if I came to you guys and I got a $25,000 loan, interest free, could that be used as my downstroke with an SBA loan? Because typically SBA is like 10% down, right? So
Yeah.
at 25,000, that's a $250,000 SBA
Yeah.
loan. Could that $25,000 be used as the downstroke for the SBA loan?
I actually don't know. I've never had anyone ask me that before. The only two kind of like no-nos for what you can use your funds are to pay off a credit card or to refinance any debt. We cannot use the funds for that. But I don't see why that's not something we can do. So I would say yes, but I can also find out and give you guys a better answer.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know
Yeah,
that. I mean, the
absolutely.
other side of that too is I know a lot of guys that will they'll make large deposits into a bank to be able to have a line of credit, because a lot of times you can 5 to 10x the deposit with a bank. So again, like I don't know if it's possible if you had that 25,000 or even the 15,000 to
Yeah.
start. 15,000 and you go to the bank and you say, "Hey, can you give me, 10x on a line of credit?" I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just talking out loud, but
Yeah. No,
I'm
absolutely.
just I'm kind of like I'm spitting these ideas because I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand how the banking system works or how
Yeah.
lending works, and
Yeah.
so this might be a really good course for them to get started
Yeah.
because if you don't have the capital up front, if you're able to use this strategy, this could be a really good way for you to really get your business kickstarted.
Yes, that's especially, I mean, we do see some more seasoned entrepreneurs, but mainly in those like first 5 or 6 years is mainly what we're seeing, which is great. And we do want to make sure, like I said, we want to make sure that we're the first step. So if after us, what the client wants to do is go and get a big SBA loan,
Mm.
like we're here for that. Like we want to make sure that they keep climbing that capital ladder. With Kiva, it's amazing because we do get to fund a lot of people that wouldn't be able to get capital otherwise. We're able to fund people with a criminal past as long as it wasn't violent financial. We can people, serve immigrants, refugees. So we do have like kind of like a broader, spectrum or who we can serve, which I think is why we get so much of the coming back because for some people they just cannot go and get an
Do you
SBA
guys run
loan.
people's credit for these loans out there?
Yeah, honestly. So Kiva does do a soft pull. Basically, the Kiva mission is character over credit. So we do have a section in the application where you will be asked like your credit score. There is option also the option of I don't have a credit score for a lot of reasons, and we do have a little box where people can explain. There will be a soft pull, but not we don't pull a hard credit on like check on it. We had someone who wanted to get a second Kiva loan, but was in the process of buying a house. And he's like, I just don't feel comfortable. Is this gonna affect, my long-term plans? So we even asked, we went back and forth with Kiva headquarters and they're like, no, it should be fine. he was able to get a 25,000 Kiva loan and then went ahead and bought his
Mm.
house. So it really is amazing. One of the big caveats that I always like to tell people is that if you're in Northwest Arkansas, so we are able, like I said, we were in partnership with the Walton Family Foundation. If you're in this area, they have a match fund. So for every $25 that anyone contributes, they'll match the same amount. So at the end of the day, you're not, fundraising 50,000, 15,500 for areas that don't have the Walton Family Foundation. Kiva is still like Kiva US is amazing about finding partners or match funds. So most of our loans, even if they're outside Northwest Arkansas, get matched in
Wow,
some
that's
way.
great. And this started in 2020?
So the Kiva Northwest Arkansas hub started in 2020. Kiva International has been around since 2005. And I think they came to the US in 2009. 2010, they're headquartered in San Francisco. But now we have all these kind of like little offices of
Mhm.
Kiva, independently run by organizations all over the country. A few recently after I started working with Startup Junkie and Kiva, one of our press releases kind of made its way to not Northwest Arkansas. So it was like 2 days where I got like 40 phone calls from people all over the US, like, oh my God, I want capital. I saw this. So one cool thing is that even if we can't service it, because we're, out so far from Chicago or New York, we can always point the client or the person in the right direction, or, okay, here's where the closest hub is to you. We've had the case of someone in Joplin who just doesn't, she lived is close enough. It's about 45 minutes from where we are, but it's a different state. There was no Kiva hub there. So we were able to get it approved and help her, even though she wasn't in our service area.
Wow, that's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And so you came from Costa Rica to Arkansas through what was it again? Through the Walton grant?
Yeah. There's a Walton International Scholarship Program. It's happening, I think this year was the 40th anniversary. So it started quite a while ago, and they do scholarships for Central American Mexican students right out of high school. So they take about 6 students from each country every year, and it is highly competitive, especially in countries where higher education is not as accessible as it is in Costa Rica, which is still very competitive there. So I was very very lucky to get that in 2013, and I moved to Arkansas. I was not expecting it. I mean, I'd been to the US before, so I was expecting the big buildings, public transportation. Then I moved to Arkansas and it was fields and cows. And I was like, oh no. Oh no, no, this is not what I signed up for. But it is amazing. It's a beautiful place now. I like it.
Yeah, and so, when you got this scholarship, does it, like, tie you to Walmart in a sense? Like, do you have to go to work at Walmart or anything?
Not really, actually at all. A lot of people do ask me that. No, you are supposed to go back to your home country, if you're able and kind of be there, but there is no like legal ties. There's no legal ties to Walmart. From what I understand, the original scholarship was in a time where Sam and Helen wanted people from other countries to come and learn from like the American
Mm,
political system and, kind of the way, back then, especially 40, 50 years ago, most of Central America was, ran by dictatorships and
right,
whatnot. But now it's just this program that's just given so much, they keep it going.
right. Wow, that's very
Yeah,
cool. Uh,
it is very cool.
do you get back to Costa Rica often?
I do, yeah. So it took all of my parents, my sister, family, everyone is down there. So Spanish is my first language. So I do get to go. I have a niece and a nephew that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So I try to go at least a couple of times a year. I was able at Startup Junkie, we do have a pretty like flexible work environment, like a limited PTO. We can work remote. So I was able to
You
go
said
December.
unlimited PTO?
Yeah, it's my
Wow.
favorite thing. It is my favorite thing, especially I love traveling. Me and my husband like to travel everywhere all the time, so it's very, very we're kind of more focused on making sure that our metrics and our outcomes are there and not as much as be tied to the desk every day. I especially think as someone who lives in Arkansas, I need to get out every so often and see other parts of the world.
Sure.
So I do get to go to Costa Rica. I was there December, January, and part of February, kind of like working remote. So that was amazing. And then we're not going for Christmas, but we're probably going early next year. So
Very
yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's one part of the world that I definitely want to visit is Costa Rica. I hear it's very beautiful.
It's beautiful. The people are really nice. The food is amazing. Should probably be doing more promo for Northwest Arkansas, which is also amazing. But I am biased. I think Costa Rica beats about everywhere in the world.
um, yeah, I mean, from what I understand, the beaches are amazing there. So
They are. And the fruit and the veggies and everything is so fresh. Oh, you're making me want to go back.
yeah, there's actually a guy I follow that moved. Well, I know a lot of people that moved to either Puerto Rico or Costa Rica, and just the freshness of stuff there between the fruit and the food. You know, like he'll
Oh
go
yeah,
down to the local market and get fresh mangoes or even like fish that was just brought in off
yeah,
the boat. I mean,
yeah.
it's you don't experience that very much in the States.
No, and especially, I mean, for us, we're nowhere close to an ocean here in
Sure.
Arkansas. So I miss the fresh seafood probably the most. My husband is not a big fan of fruits. And every time he goes to Costa Rica, he's like, it's just different here. It's like sweet and just much better. And Costa Rica does have like a blue zone, which is kind of like they're
Mm,
scattered all over the world, but they're this little like small geographical areas
yeah.
where everyone just lives like over 100 years old,
Yep.
and they've tied it to like fruits, veggies, and beans. So basically, all Costa Rican staples.
Right. That is definitely Costa Rican stable. That's for sure.
We love it.
Yeah. So back to the lending.
Yeah.
Where are you guys trying to take the organization? Are you trying to scale it at all, or are you trying to get it so that you could lend more than up to 25,000?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little more about just like Startup Junkie in
Sure.
general. Kiva is like a program that we manage at Startup Junkie, but Startup Junkie has been an ESO since the early 2000s in Northwest Arkansas. Our founder, Jeff Amering, along with his wife Phil and their son Brett Amering, kind of started doing consulting. They're from Arkansas. They started doing some consulting and some like mentoring services, and they kind of brought it into this company that we're in now years later, where we do all kinds of stuff. So like the lending and the capital is such a small part of what we do. We have consulting services, we have mentoring services, we have a subject matter expert list of like quite a few people, because we're not, we are a small team. So I might not be an expert in art and music, but we can find someone that is. So we do have all these people available if we have a client that, needs more expertise in a certain area. We do have a pretty heavy event like programming. So we do over 200 events a year, ranging from a variety like lunch and learns, info sessions. We love our pitch competitions. We have a startup crawl once a year, which is kind of our biggest signature event. We close down the city center here in Fayetteville, and we have a beer crawl, and then kind of just like a startup showcase. We have a couple of concerts, so that's like one of our favorite events. So we're very heavy on the programming, the networking. In 2025, we are starting some more like programming that tailors to historically underserved populations. And we're talking more than just, race and gender. So we're trying to target single parents that want to be entrepreneurs, veterans, the neurodiverse entrepreneur community. I have Tourette's. So it's something I'm super passionate about. So we're definitely kind of moving into a more targeting smaller groups of our population that can be very successful entrepreneurs that just haven't gotten their tools yet. We do have an accelerator program. We have a thrift store here in town, and all of the profits to the thrift store go to small business grants. This year, we started something new where if someone had a Kiva loan in the past like 6 to 8 months, they could apply for the grant program. And instead of just them giving you like $500 or $800 in a check, they're able, because they know where the money's going to, they can go up to $2,000 and just pay off part of their loan. So there's definitely more than just, we do the loans. We're very passionate about it, but we do have a bunch of other stuff that we're kind of focusing on. I would say that, we are definitely, I think it started more as a hyper local situation, but now we're definitely trying to get as far as we can
Mhm.
the past from like September, October, part of November, we had a cohort of like 20 South Korean companies that came to Fayetteville to just kind of get some businesses, get some networking, meet some new people. So we're definitely trying to just take over the world with the Startup Junkie mission.
That's great. I like that you guys also help veterans out. That one is actually near and dear to my heart because I think that our American veterans are kind of not they're not treated the best, and so it's nice that there's a
Absolutely.
program that could maybe help them kick off an idea or something like that.
Yeah, we actually so both our founders, Jeff Amron that I mentioned and his son are both
Oh,
veterans.
great.
So it's definitely a group, kind of like with me and neurodiversity, there's definitely, something that we've been talking about lately is that we do want to support historical underserved minorities beyond just race and gender, which are two very big categories that we want to support, but also think about all the historically underserved groups that we don't usually think of or like are friend of mine, like veterans, neurodiverse population, single parents, so there's definitely, we do have a heavy emphasis on that. We're part of Honor Fest, which is a local event here in Northwest Arkansas. It's only focused on veterans. So there's all kind of events, all kinds of like support and activities. It's usually one day a year. But our contribution to that is that we do a pitch competition, but it's only open for like veterans and first responders. So some of the ideas that we see there are just absolutely amazing.
Mm.
We do always do like a cash prize. So that's something we want to do more in 2025, kind of pitch competitions that are, or just events and programming focused for veterans, just because like you said, there's some amazing ideas there. There's some great talent, resilience and accountability and hard work, but just not getting those resources the same way everyone is.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know you said that you guys do consulting. I think, um, one, when you talked about the underserved community, right? A
Mhm.
lot of the underserved community just doesn't have the education or the knowledge on, I mean, let's be frank, to even balance a checkbook, right? So, do you guys provide those kind of services to help them, like, okay, this is how you do accounting in business, this is how you do sales and marketing, or whatever that is?
Yeah, absolutely. Part of those programming that I was talking about, like the info session and the lunch and learns, most of them I would say are basic level, can intro to business stuff. And one of the things we do can always kind of just welcome the feedback of tell us what you guys are struggling with or what you're needing help with, and we can do tailored programming for that. So the lunch and learned, we try to bring in just an outside expert outside of Startup Junkie because people can get tired of seeing our faces.
Mm,
So just tomorrow, I think we have one on how to create like social media content that actually speaks to our
mm,
clients and how to do that. We've done Canva workshops, like how do you even use Canva? What is Canva? Some of the and this is just a personal experience that I've seen with Kiva is we have some people that, can barely read or write or can't speak English, and they have amazing, successful businesses. And it makes you think like, what if they get just a little bit of like education on what they
sure.
can do better? There's no way to tell where they can
Yep.
go because they're already successful with the basically just grit and determination being the driving force, and that's it. So what if we give them that extra piece or you just kind of like the last piece of the puzzle? We won't know how successful they can be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, and so how does someone look up you guys to be able to learn more and find out where they can go to get into this program?
Yeah. So usually startupjunkie.org, which is our website, is the best way you'll not only be able to see like our programming, our upcoming events, you'll be able to just kind of scour all of our bios and Calendly links, and you'll see the subject matter expert there too. So the website is definitely resource number one. Something that we haven't talked about, even though we're in a podcast, is that we also do have two podcasts. One of them we actually just reached our 400th episode, which is the Startup Junkies podcast.
Cool.
And in the last year, we started a Startup Junkies in Espanol version, which we call it now has a new name called Querido Emprendedor, which means dear entrepreneur.
Mm,
So both of those are, I would say, amazing tools also to just kind of like keep up with what's happening or sometimes get a little bit of hope when you're feeling
Mhm.
hopeless. There's some great stories there.
Do
So I
you
would
run
definitely
that
say,
one? Do you run the Spanish podcast?
yeah, I do.
I knew it.
Yeah, I do. It's, so Spanish speaker, it's only me and one of our interns, one of our college interns. So definitely I'd have to do it. I don't know how it goes if we gave it to anyone else. But, our intern is an amazing, amazing help. He's kind of running with it. But yes, so I started that a year ago, and it's been wildly successful. I definitely feel like there's some barriers that we just don't see, and there's some entrepreneurs that are amazing and deserve the spotlight, and they just may not feel most of them, I would say, speak good English, but they don't feel comfortable going a whole 40 minutes in English. So I would say the podcasts are a great resource, the website. And then we are all of our contact info is out there. So we have our Calendly and our email. And I would say usually, even if you're outside, Northwest Arkansas, outside of Arkansas, it's always worth it to just kind of schedule a call and talk. I mean, the consulting, mentorship, and subject matter expert list, most of that is done online. So there's no like geographical constraints. And we're starting this new thing where we're trying to live stream most of our events, like info sessions, lunch and learn. So you can
Mhm.
definitely register for those and either get the link and look at them or social media, whatever that looks like. So we're always trying to find ways to kind of just like lower more and more barriers, whether that's to entry or just information in general.
Yeah, so I was just gonna ask that because if they're out of, your geographic area, it's still good to start with you guys, and then you guys can point them in the right direction based on wherever they're located, right?
Yes, I would definitely say, if what you're looking for is just like mentorship and like consulting and just like quick basic answers, we can definitely provide that online. If you need kind of like get in contact with like a Kiva hub or something, that's definitely something we can provide like the right direction. But I would say don't let, whether you're in New York, Texas, California, that let that be a determinant. We get called from all over. So definitely I would say we're good. And I don't I feel like I've mentioned this, but everything we do is at no cost to the entrepreneurs. So there was never ever any cost involved. I mean, clearly you have to pay your loan back, but there's like no cost with our services, no cost for the events, no cost for any of the online webinars. Everything we do is at no cost to the entrepreneurs. So I would always urge people, if you can find something in your area that's similar or provide similar services, you can start with us as a starting point, and then we can try to find you the right place to go.
Yeah, so you guys being a nonprofit, you're a nonprofit, I assume, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So for a non-for-profit, then, basically your guys' model is funded by all of just the outside investors that are willing to give up money to be able to help these people and pay for your guys' salaries and all of that stuff.
Yeah, we have I mean, our funding comes from, like you said, just an array of places. The Walton Family Foundation is one, the city of Fayetteville, the state of Arkansas, SBA. We have all these grants and contracts to kind of make a hodgepodge of funding for us. But we are a nonprofit, so we don't charge. I mean, our only event that is ticketed is the startup call that I mentioned. And the tickets are I mean, it's not a fundraiser for us. We're just trying to make sure,
You cover your
because there's
costs,
beer
yeah.
and because there's like, so there it's just a little more like high level and the tickets are still, for the amount of beer and food and everything that you get very, very, very little. So I would say most of that is at no cost. I always urge you entrepreneurs. I would say that most places have something similar. Again, I would love to be the first resource, but if you're in your area, look for community partners. Entrepreneurship can be it's an amazing field and an amazing industry, but it can also be a very isolating career because you're kind of expected to
Mhm.
juggle all 40 hats by yourself.
Yep,
You have to be good at all of 40 of them
yep.
because marketing and accounting honestly are just as important. And then it's one person. So it can be isolating, it can be overwhelming. So leaning on community partners just like us, even if it's not for just the services, but just to be able to go to a networking event and like vent with
Yeah,
other people
yeah,
that have walked your journey
yeah,
or walking your journey. So it can either be give me advice or help me vent about this
yeah,
because it's overwhelming.
yeah. No, I mean, that's great. I think that's very important because you are right. When you're not an entrepreneur, a solopreneur as well, you're
Mhm.
wearing 40 different hats. You're learning off the fly. There's things that college just cannot teach you that you're going to learn while you're actually doing the work. I'm part of a group called Rex, and Rex is a roundtable that's made up of other gym owners across the U.S. And we get together 3 times a year, and then we have a couple conference calls every year as well. But it is super beneficial for all of us because just exactly what you're saying, we could bounce ideas off of, we could vent. Hey, this is happening. What do you think? What should I do differently? And like just recently, I had my entire Rex group come to my gym, audit my gym, and say, "Bo, you need to be doing this better. You need to be doing this." So that is I can't highly I have to highly stress how important that feedback is and that advice
Mm.
and mentorship is when you're in business for yourself.
And I would say also, just as a because most entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and all kinds of entrepreneurs, like we've stated, it's overwhelming, it's exhausting, it's isolating, you're juggling all 40 hats. So you forget that one of the hats is to be you and make sure
Yeah.
you give time.
Yeah.
So that is what I think it's also one of the biggest pieces of that like community partnership or even just like part of that networking of same minded individuals because as you're an entrepreneur to make sure everything succeeds, you forget about
Yeah.
you and and I think that's what's important. Like you said, you have this group of 6 people that you can not just bounce ideas with, but just say like, okay, is anyone else feeling this pressure? Or is anyone feeling like, what are you guys doing to help that? So I feel like that's a big thing of community partners. Like it's kind of hard to put like a value number or like a tangible, it's not an event. There's no numbers in it. But just the idea of being able to talk to someone and feel seen and heard and like, okay, I am not the only one going through this
Yeah.
can be just honestly the difference maker between succeeding and not succeeding.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I love what you guys are doing, Claudia. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to make sure I leave your contact information and your website in the show notes. Highly, highly recommend everyone scoping out your organization because I think if you're in business for yourself or you're thinking about going into business for yourself, what a great resource to be able to kick things off.
Yes, I definitely well appreciate your time and the conversation. I think it was great. Seriously, if anyone needs to just try to find the right place to go, use us as a resource for sure.
Absolutely.